Is this a Bred colorway? Is that what we're looking at here? Is it Bred? Is that what grabs me about these guys? Something grabs me about them. I do not review that many Foamposites for my channel. I have reviewed over 400 sneakers for this channel, over 400 sneakers, and I would say in that time maybe 5 of them have been Foamposites. Actually, one of the most popular sneakers on my channel, most popular videos on my channel, was a Foamposite floral video. I'll stick a link to that right here, and we'll talk about those links in a minute. You don't actually have to click on them right now, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But yes, I'm not a huge reviewer of Foamposites. I do like them. I think they are cool, but I'm not a huge reviewer of them. But this one, something just grabbed me as I was like looking for sneakers to review for the channel. I always research the sneakers in advance and look at them in detail and find out as much about them as I possibly can before I sit down and talk to you guys about them. And there are literally hundreds of sneakers out there to choose from. So what jumps out at me and what pops up, okay, that's really, a great collaboration, or that's an iconic sneaker, or wow, people are going to be interested in that. This particular one, the Nike Air Foamposite Pro, I'm going to go ahead and say it's a Bred colorway, and that's what made it jump off the page at me and say, yes, this is a sneaker that you need to bring to the channel, this is a sneaker you need to review, and this is a sneaker you need to get out there and let people see. So without further ado, let's look at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Foamposite Pro, Bred. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel des. Mainichi Absolute Day, Mainichi Media Design. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today, what we're looking at is a Nike Air Foamposite Pro. And every time I review Foamposite for the channel, I always start off by talking about the difference between a Nike Air Foamposite Pro and a Nike Air Foamposite 1. Do you know the quick and easy way to do that? I know the quick and easy way to do that. And in the case of these guys right here, it's easiest if we zoom right in on that midfoot section and look at that pearly white upper and see that massive pearly white swoosh on the side, which we'll come back to later. And it's that swoosh that tells us that these guys are pros. If I go here, bang, and show you the sneaker right here, you can see it doesn't have a swoosh on the side, and that's a quick way to know that these are Air Foamposite 1s. And if we go back to the Breds, as I'm calling them, you can see the swooshes there, which means that they're pros. And that's the very quick way that if you're looking at Foamposite, you're like, is it a pro? Is it a 1? Swoosh, it's a pro. No swoosh, it's a 1. It's just a very, very quick way to look at the difference between the two. And we are going to have a look at that, take it apart bit by bit. But I did say right at the start of this video, we would also look at the links and talk about the links that we put up here. Those links there, they sit there for the whole video, and I always encourage you, the viewer, to check out those links at the end of the video, not when I do things like this. Bang, there's a link to the shattered backboard Foamposites. It's an incredible looking sneaker, and for some reason that video didn't fly for me and didn't get that much traction with you, the viewer out there, but I think they're an absolutely clean looking sneaker. So for some reason, the shattered backboards didn't fly for me, but there's a link up there, which you can check out at any time in the video. You don't have to do it just at that moment when it pops up here across like that. It'll be sitting there for the whole video, and go ahead and check out that link, which actually helps the channel when you click on those links. So also what helps the channel is boosting my Twitter account. My Twitter account has sucked for ages. My Instagram account flies high while my Twitter account lulls in the gutter. But we're trying to push it, we're trying to grow it, we're trying to get some traction on Twitter. So if you can go check out Tokyo Butter 23 on Twitter, I'd appreciate it. There's a link down below in the description, or you can just Google it, or go ahead and find it on Twitter, Tokyo Butter 23. Give it a follow, please. But without further ado, let's get into these sneakers and have a look at them, because there's quite a lot going on them, and they are a really cracking looking sneaker. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure why I was drawn to them. I think it's because they have that kind of Bred feel about them, which is most obvious when you look at that lace system around the laces, and the lace stays up on there. This is one of my criticisms of Foamposites 1s or Pros, is that the lace system and the lace stays sometimes feel like they don't match in with the upper on the sneaker. For example, you might have a roughed up leather or a heavy heavy suede on there, and then you have that sleek futuristic look of the upper, and they don't go well together. These guys go really, really well together in color and in material. They really sit nicely on top of the sneaker, and it sets off that kind of futuristic pearly white shiny upper on there, and I did say we'd go back to that swoosh, and we'll go back to that swoosh now because we're talking about the color of the upper and that white effect on there, and the swoosh itself being the same. That's not common. I think I'll say it that way. That's not common in Foamposite pros, because often that's a point where the designers say, here's a chance for contrast. We've got like an orange upper, let's put a black swoosh on there to contrast with the upper. But in the case of these guys, they've decided to go with the same color for the swoosh and the upper, and I think it totally works. I think it really is a clean look. I think maybe it works because the upper itself is kind of vertical in design, but the swoosh is horizontal. So the contrast between the two is there, and it's like the physicalness of it, if not in the actual color of it. So for me, that double up on color on the swoosh and the upper is a good idea. Equally, the other swoosh on these guys, which you often see around the lacing system on there, being in contrast to the lacing system, where the lacing system is black, and you have that red swoosh on there, is a good feature, and I think it helps it pop, and it's a yes for me. And there's another swoosh where they have gone with the contrasting colours on the outsole. So if you flip these guys upside down, doing, and have a look at the outsole, which should be behind me right here, you'll see that the outsole is predominantly white, but there's a big red swoosh running right through the middle of it. So in two places, you've got the swoosh in contrast to the surrounding colour, but then on the upper, it's back here on the upper here, again behind me, you can see they've gone with the same colour, so it kind of melds in, but it still looks really good as far as I'm concerned. And then one final place to have a look at for contrast and colour is if you go back to the back end of the sneaker, you can see that the pull tabs on the back are grey with a red Foamposite written on there. And again, that red on grey gives contrast, and it helps it really to pop out for the sneaker. Now, two places that aren't designed to give contrast, but perhaps they do just by their natural kind of styling, is if you have a look at the collar and then run that down into the tongue, it's a heavy mesh effect. And what that heavy mesh effect does is that the mesh itself, being in light grey, gives you one colour, but because the holes in them are kind of large, and then they're shadow and dark on the inside, it appears like a second colour. So it's like a light grey mesh with black holes in it, even though they're not black holes, they're just holes. And that contrast looks really good, and it also helps set off the midfoot shank where the carbon fibre is. And if you look at between the two, between the collar and the tongue, and then the midfoot shank or the carbon fibre on there, you can see the commonality between the two, especially with that kind of grid effect in light grey and the darker kind of hole sections in there. Whereas that's carbon fibre on the midfoot, it's just sort of an open hole in the mesh of the tongue. But it totally works. I think it really, really works in both places. And for some reason, all of that goes together and makes a real fine sneaker for me. I don't. It's not really a Bred. You know what I mean? There's not enough. There's too much white and there's not enough black and red for it to be really a Bred. I know that, but there's something about it that just shouted to me and just said, "This is a cool sneaker," and I can't think of anything other than Bred to call them. I think they're a really cracking looking sneaker. I think they're really one of those ones that people are going to be like stop when they're scrolling through websites and be like, oh, that's interesting, and have a look at it. So it could be a sneaky little one that catches people on the fly, and people are definitely interested in getting their hands on these guys. Now, speaking of interesting things, rare sneakers, the rarest sneakers in the world, samples, prototypes, one-of-ones come to the channel every Sunday, so definitely make sure you see in-hand rare sneakers at the channel. But if you can't wait till Sunday, here's another link. There's a playlist full of rare sneakers right there, and that link, like I said, is there all the time in the video, and also those other links that we talked about before to those floral Foamposites and to those shattered backboard Foamposites, still there. So definitely click on one of those to check out another video from me. That is a very helpful thing to do, and it's also helpful if you can go and check out that Twitter account and give TokyoButter23 a follow on Twitter. For now, though, it's time for me to sign off, and thank you guys for checking out my content. I do truly appreciate it. I am here every single single day in Tokyo, Japan, bringing this sneaker content, even though I have a full-time job and a young family at home, and doing this daily content can be a bit of a challenge, but I enjoy it. I do try and churn it out. Haven't missed a single day since, I think it was December the 11th or the 9th, 2018, that I decided to start doing daily drop. And since then, it's been daily drops all the way. I appreciate you guys checking that out. For now, though, it's time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out my content. But as I do this every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.